These events mean a lot to me because I've been part of the EMSDC and I've been part of many councils for many years. And I want to give you guys one advice. These events can change the trajectory of your company. And what I mean by that is one conversation, one philosophy, one opportunity can allow you guys to go from 0 to 1 million. So you guys have done a great job so far. Just want to make sure you guys stay committed throughout the rest of the day. But these days, again, sometimes we look at them as very transactional. But I've seen these days, I think there was a young man I sat next to that said this opportunity allowed him to go to almost $10 million. So congrats again, and congrats to Highmark. They asked me to give our keys to success. We've grown from 0 to almost 30 million in 7 years. Right? So I also didn't have any gray 7 years ago, just so you guys know. So I should have put that as one of the options. But there's 3 things that I wanted to talk about today that helped us in a very unique way. One is, how do you navigate your why? Right? I think that was a critical thing for us, and I explained to you guys why that's important. 2 is, how do you build your company's community? I'll let you guys know why that's critical. And 3 is leveraging your relationships. Before I get started with my business journey, I think it's important for you guys to know who I am, where I came from. And that would kind of give you guys some context. So that little house there is a little cottage back in Jamaica. It's where I grew up. Right? And in that house, I remember I lived with grandparents, parents, nieces, nephews, neighbors, right? Lots of people. I'm originally from Jamaica. I came to the US when I was 8. And I share that story with you guys because my core beliefs, my habits, all that originated back in that small cottage. I remember walking to get water every morning with no shoes, right? I remember walking to school miles. I actually can say that to my kids, but I had to walk miles to elementary school. And I also remember growing up not knowing my dad. So I share all those things again because that defined who I am, and it'll cascade years later into what our culture is as an organization. People always ask me, Paul, did you ever know you were going to be an entrepreneur? And I said, absolutely not. But I will say one thing, I had a business coach early in life. It's my mom, right? And I call her my business coach because Norma moved to the US with nothing more than a 5th grade education. She worked at the Sheraton Hotel for 30 years as a maid. She not only worked 5 days a week at the Sheraton, the other 2 days were spent cleaning homes. And I share that because she also, from what I remember, never missed a day at work. Which means what? I never missed a day at school. Yeah, that's... So I share this because this young lady had a tremendous impact, and again, on who I am today. My grit, resilience, commitment, hard work, all came from her. So again, people ask, was I born to be an entrepreneur? No, but I had a business coach early on in life that helped me to get to where I am today. Fast forward a couple years. Does anyone know Inroads? Anyone familiar? Awesome. So my freshman year, I attended Temple University in Philadelphia, and after my freshman year, I got the opportunity to join Inroads. Inroads was started by a young man named Frank Carr. Frank Carr was a white gentleman who back in 1970 said, I don't like the fact that there's not a lot of diverse candidates in corporate America. Quit his job and decided to invest in this organization, which back then allowed 25 minority candidates to get into corporate America. Today, they have 28 offices across the country, and they're placing 2,000 minority candidates into corporate jobs internationally. So the reason why I share that is because not knowing back then, that opportunity as an intern would shape my career. And it's me. I had the opportunity to work for a multi-billion-dollar HR company at the age of 18, right? And I share that picture because that one opportunity changed the trajectory of my life. So remember, I'm from Jamaica. Grew up in Baltimore City. I got thrown in this culture overnight. Best thing for me, it forced me to step out of my comfort zone. It forced me to realize that people from different backgrounds, you can connect with them. We're all the same. I realized that at 19. Most powerful thing I could have at such a young age. Those individuals are friends, mentors. They were in my wedding. I didn't know that at the age 17. I Didn't realize in that program I was in a workforce development project, and I didn't realize almost maybe 10, 15 years later, we would start our own workforce development company. And there's my lovely wife, my college roommate. I think that was maybe year 2. So within a short 7 years, we've gone from, as I mentioned, 2 employees to 60. We've gone from barely making payroll to, again, we'll end this year at 30 million. And we've gone from a staffing firm, and I proudly say we were a staffing company, to now we provide a variety of service lines that we sit with CEOs across the country to help them develop workforce development strategies in utilities, healthcare, and state companies. So that's a quick background on our company. As I mentioned, the 3 things I wanted to talk about today, so now you guys can maybe understand who I am, where I came from, and why that's important. Navigating your why. I think when you start a company, and I'll speak for myself here, most people leave their full-time job, their corporate job. They want to get away. They want freedom. By the way, entrepreneurship is not freedom. Big lie. So you guys know, I found that out the hard way. It's the opposite, to be very candid. But most folks leave their job, and when you leave your job, they tell you to create a mission, right? When you start a company. Create a mission statement. Why do you exist? You need to have that. I think at the beginning, your mission is only to pay your bills, to get accounts, right? To stay in business. That's all it is. So I created a mission, and we knew what we stood for, but it wasn't top of mind. Over time, I realized that only takes you so far. So back to how do you scale your business? At some point, your mission cannot be about you anymore. It can't be about your family. It can't be about your kids. It can't be about your 401k, right? You need something that's going to evolve. You need something that's going to, that creates a bigger why for individuals. And I realized that when we started to hire folks, and they didn't want to hear about we wanted to retire at 50. That could mean nothing to them. So we slowed down. We said, hey, what's important? And we created our true mission. And we realized that if you have a mission, if you need to grow and scale your business, you need something that's bigger than yourself, right? I know they say it, but I'm telling you guys, that's a difference maker, because now that's what we hire for. That's what we fire for. And probably most importantly, that's how we choose our customers, right? I think Tim had a chance to share with you guys that our mission was to twofold, right? We wanted to hire underrepresented talent and make sure we got them good paying jobs. And we also wanted to make sure that we helped small businesses grow and scale. Those 2 things were important for me. And I said, if we can really make that our mission, I think we can grow as a company. And some people questioned it, say, how do you plan to build a multi-million-dollar firm just doing that? And I realized, well, that's a multi-trillion-dollar issue, right? There's underrepresented talent, probably more than ever right now, that need to be trained and put into jobs. Projects can, I think Tim mentioned I do renewable energy. Renewable energy is dying for talent. They can't hit their goals unless they find the talent. And then small business, I don't think people realize how small business play an impact on the local and national economy. They're the largest employer. I know you guys know that, but the majority of the folks don't. So I knew those 2 things were that critical. I said, let's tie to that. Let's push that. And I think that's what helped us to grow. That's going to continue to help us to grow as a business. I wanted to, I think, Lisa, to put your phone away, so I felt bad with this slide. But how many of you guys feel pretty good about your mission? You feel as though your team, they understand your mission, and they hire and they work because of that mission? Raise your hand. How many of you guys think there's an opportunity to go back to your team and reiterate your mission? Right? At the end of every year, we have an end-of-year call. And this year, I put up the United Nations. It's a list of global issues that humanity is facing. And I say, guys, we're impacting inequality. We're impacting climate control. And I tied it to something bigger than we'll ever accomplish. And that was key for them. So again, I recommend, look at the global issues we're facing in humanity, right? And tie your business to that. It's a different conversation, I promise you. It's a different conversation not only for you, it's different for your employees. And I take that conversation when I sit across from CEOs, directors, VPs. Right? The second one is building your company's community. I think this was something else that I struggled with in the beginning. I thought that I could pull things along myself, my wife and I. We just thought we could do it alone. And we realized quickly that if you don't build a leadership team, you only go so far. And that leadership team, you need to have trust, commitment from those individuals. So again, as I mentioned, you need to trust them, they need to believe in you, and they need to be committed to your mission as a whole. And we were lucky that we have 6 or 7 people still with us till this day. This is a picture of one of our, I think we took a couple of our managers and our directors to a trip a few weeks ago to talk about the end of year meeting. And what I realized was we have a great community at the senior level. Our middle managers is where we're going to struggle as a company. And if we can't fix that, we won't grow to the next level, right? So in order to fix this, have anyone seen the Lencioni model? Anyone? You can raise your hand. Awesome. This is something that one of my mentors has ingrained in me since mid-20s. And I've seen this model work over and over again. The premise for this is that I think it's called the 5 dysfunctions of a team, is any team will not be successful if they don't embody all 5 of those characteristics. And I can say this is not only a business thing, it's a spouse, it's your kids, it's your friends. I'm going to go through them very quickly. Absence of trust. If you don't trust anyone, nothing happens. You're already at loss. Clients, customers. Fear of conflict, right? If people don't push back against you, right? If you don't allow them to push back against you, you're going to have issues. When we have leadership meetings, the minute that no one pushes back, I know we're going to have an issue because I know they don't think the way that I think. All right? Lack of commitment, avoidance of accountability is actually the biggest category that people struggle, right? And last is this inattention to results. I'm going to share a quick story why that slide means a lot to me. My coach, my son plays competitive basketball, which Tim already committed to coaching him. And I remember years ago, we were at an AAU tournament, and they were losing. And I looked at the bench, and I didn't see any kid showing any emotion. They all just sat there, down 20. It's probably down more. I don't want the speech to go viral that my son, I told him the actual score. But they were down a lot. And I would never forget, the coach grabbed them, really good coach. He was a former Air Force guy. A couple of vets are in here. And he said, the fact that you guys don't trust each other, you guys aren't willing to call each other out, there's no accountability. He went through the model without me even knowing that he probably doesn't even know the Lencioni model. And the team ended up winning the tournament. And the reason why I share that story is because sometimes in sports, it's easier to see the results. In business, it's tough, but it works. And I can tell you guys, throughout my career, I've managed, trained numerous teams. Normally, at some point, those are the areas that your team struggles. Trust, conflict, avoidance, commitment. It's always one of those things, right? So exercise, again, feel free to take a picture, right? These are some questions you can ask your key leaders. How do you communicate disagreements, right? What's your most important personal goal right now? That's how you build trust. We have a big thing in our company where I want to know everyone's personal goal. If I don't know you. I can't help you. And last but not least, what are you responsible for in the business? Last but not least is leveraging relationships. So as I mentioned, I've been in sales for many years. I've sold, I've managed teams, I've trained sales teams. And when my wife and I started the JPI Group, we took all of our money out of our 401k and our savings. And here's why I probably felt confident. I knew I could sell. Right? I've sold millions of dollars at my corporate job. So I didn't think of this. I could at least sell a third of that was my thought process. Right? But I always applied this methodology back in my corporate days, and I applied it to our company, PPF. Number 1 is leverage partnerships, create strong value proposition, and follow up. So leveraging partnerships. I'll tell you guys where I think companies make the most mistakes from my lens. I'll skip this. I always sit down with small business and they say, Paul, we can't find clients. We can't. I say, okay, well, have you called everyone on your cell phone? Have you downloaded your LinkedIn? Have you downloaded your Facebook? Very simple. How many people do you guys think have done that? Very few, right? And there's clients, I think there's a gentleman, there's clients sitting in our network all the time. I'll give you guys the best example. 3 weeks ago, we had an RFP from a local company in Philadelphia. The person that distributed the RFP used to work for me. I haven't called her in 2 years. You guys know how that feels, right? So that just reminded me as I was prepping for this, that was my narrative. I realized that we have these opportunities and we just don't take advantage of it. Two other quick areas. One is channel partnerships. Who's familiar with channel partnerships? Right? If you want to grow your company, learn channel partnerships quickly. I'll give you the best example. All the channel partnership is my product or my service, I align with another company, and my service is complementary to their service. Simple example, if I own a janitorial company, I partner with an HVAC company. Why? We're selling to the same stakeholder. If I do that with 4 companies, I don't need to hire 100 salespeople. I have 100 salespeople working for me. Very simple concept. You can do it with marketing and IT. You can do it with procurement and Marketing, it works as long as your service line doesn't compete with their service line and it makes their service line more powerful to their buyer. Significant strategy. Last but not least, your current clients. I'll tell you where we failed this year as a business. We landed a lot of clients. We didn't have account managers. Right? So we have all these customers. We're doing a good job. We're saying we can do what we promised, but then we don't build a relationship with those clients. So leverage your partnerships. Key. Second is increase your value proposition. Again, we did staffing. Staffing is transactional. People don't like staffing. The reality is I know they need it. Can't grow your company without people. Right? But what I did realize was how do I message it in a way that's more powerful? How do I bring something where I can sit in front of the CEO, the board of director? We figured it out. Right? We figured out workforce development better than anyone else. We created an enterprise platform that allowed companies to actually put a system in place. Right? And third but not least is follow-up. I don't want to do too much here, but I know that 65% of people never follow up. So you guys will get each other's cards. The reality is half of you guys will never call each other. Half of you guys won't even call Highmark. I don't. I've sat on that side. I've trained salespeople for years. So that's a key thing. And then 75 to 85% of deals happen after the 8th to 9th conversation. These are facts. Right? So these again, nothing too complicated. These are just simple things that we did. We did it with discipline that allowed us to see success long term. I want to end by saying, again, thank you to Highmark. Thank you to the procurement team and the supply diversity team. I'm a big sports fan, so I always lead my team by saying, show up and keep your jersey on, right? Because eventually you'll get a chance to play, and we know when we get a chance to play, we shine.